click my video. Okay, just click my video. You'll be able to enlarge my screen, and you'll be able to see it clearly. Okay, fine. So what I was talking is, you will be able to relate to the lot of chapters in 11th class. You'll be able to relate them to the 10th chapters also, even in both physics and chemistry, right? Say for example, the chapter which you're going to learn today, that is some basic concepts of chemistry. That's the first chapter, right? So that chapter, you already some part of it you would have already studied in 9th class itself. Say in 9th class you would have studied about mass percentage, number of moles, molecular mass, right? So all these things are already studied in your 9th class. Anyways, we'll again see from the scratch, like what are these exactly, right? And say in your first in your acid bases and salts, if you take, there'll be a chapter called as equilibrium or ionic equilibrium, right? So in that chapter, actually, you'll be touching a lot of these acid bases. So you'll study just about the acids and bases, right? So now in those chapters, you'll be doing some mathematics with the help of these acids and bases. So you'll be, what is pH, isn't it? So we'll be calculating the pH. There are ways by which I'll be able to calculate the pH, right? And I'll be able to, now we know that any acid is going to give me H plus, anything which gives me H plus, but there are acids which need not give me H plus, but still they are acidic in nature, right? So a lot of good fascinating things you'll be studying. And say you would have studied about compounds, so many compounds, HNO3, H2SO4, so many compounds, isn't it? Right? So we are going to study how these compounds are getting formed. So when I say a bond in chemistry, why is it getting formed, first of all? Okay, then we understand how is it getting formed, and will be able to compare. Say if I have OH bond, I have say SH bond, CLH bond. I'll be able to compare these strengths, right? How strong the bond is or how weak the bond is, right? So many things you'll be studying, and you study periodic table, right? So periodic table, again in 11th also we have periodic table. Again we'll be studying about your ionization enthalpies, electronegativity, electropositivity, but still more deeper manner, right? So you can actually understand. Again, you studied carbon-rich compounds. So we have two organic chapters. Okay. First of all, from 11th and 12th, right? In 11th and 12th, I'll be able to segregate my chemistry chapters into three types, right? So one is what is called as physical chemistry, right? I have something called as organic chemistry, and I have something called as inorganic chemistry. So what I'm telling is, in 11th or in 12th, both, I have something called as physical chemistry. I have something called as inorganic chemistry, and I have something called as organic chemistry. Okay, so basically these are going to deal with different branches of chemistry, right? Say for example, if I take physical chemistry, right? So physical chemistry is basically going to deal with any mathematics which is going to involve. We'll be solving a lot of problems, right? We'll be solving a lot of problems, lot of numericals, right? I'll be playing with numbers so much in case of physical chemistry. Okay, so under physical chemistry, if you see what are all the chapters which are coming for 11th, I have first one is what is called as some basic concepts of chemistry. Some basic concepts of chemistry, and I have something called as atomic structure. Okay, and I have gaseous state, and I have equilibrium, and I have something called as ionic equilibrium, right? And then okay, I'll write it here. So still in physical chemistry only. So after that, I have something called as thermodynamics. Right, I think that's it. These are all the physical chemistry chapters. So in all these chapters, you'll be playing with numbers, and it is going to be very interesting, right? So especially certain chapters like atomic structure, thermodynamics, equilibrium, all these chapters are very, 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 very interesting, right? So especially in thermodynamics, you'll be dealing with heat, right? So you have studied that heat is a form of energy, so on and so forth, convection, conduction, all these things in your 10th class or 9th class, right? So we'll be dealing with heat and thermodynamics. And in gaseous state, as the name tells you, we'll be dealing with gases, their properties, how and all will be able to manipulate the gases, how we'll be able to liquefy the gases. If I liquefy, is there any certain things I have to check and control, right? What exactly should be the pressure for me, for which should be applied for the gas to be liquefied, right? So many other things, right? You'll be studying. And in equilibrium, like I'll not be able to touch, I don't want to touch it now. So basically we'll be dealing with, say, slightly with how fast a chemical reaction occurs, right? So we're going to deal with, say, the rate of chemical reactions. Say we know that, say, if I put sodium and water, what will happen? I will have a very violent reaction, isn't it? Right? But same thing if I put magnesium with water, what will happen? It is not going to be, it will react. It's not like it won't react, but definitely it is going to react very slowly, isn't it? So yeah, all these things will be dealing with the equilibrium and ionic equilibrium. It's going to be almost similar chapters. And in some basic concepts I told you, we'll be dealing with moles, right? You'll be dealing with molecular masses. And say, for example, I have H2 plus O2 giving H2O, right? I'll be able to understand if I add, say, X grams of H2, Y grams of O2, how many grams of H2O will I get? I able to understand what I'm telling, right? If I mix a certain amount of reactants, how much amount of products will I be able to get, right? So you'll be able to, now if at all I'm doing a chemical reaction, basically whatever trick we are going to study here, you should use it. Say how many grams of sodium I should take, how many grams of water I should take to form this many grams of NaOH, right? So all these kind of stuff we'll be doing in your some basic concepts of chemistry. And in atomic structure, again, a beautiful chapter, right? So you will study about how you will have already studied this in your 9th class, atomic structure. So we are going to study in depth. You would have studied about Rutherford's model, you would have studied Dalton's atomic theory, Thomson's model, right? Neil Bohr's atomic theory, right? And basically one more, like we'll be studying the newest developments which happened in the recent past, like in the last 20, 30 years, I would say last 50 years max, right? Say that there's something called as quantum theory, right? So quantum theory is a theory which we use now in order for me to study about the electrons and, say, atoms in general, right? Say you would have studied electronic configuration in atomic structure, right? So we know that there are going to be orbits, and in these orbits I'm going to have electrons present, right? Now what if I tell you that these orbits can still more be subclassified into suborbits? Each orbits have some suborbit, and inside these suborbits how many electrons will be there, right? Fascinating, isn't it? Right? So you will have all these things in atomic structure, right? We'll be able to study them, and we'll be able to even study what to say, something about light, right? So there's going to be something going to be called as dual nature of light or dual nature of electromagnetic radiation. That means a certain thing will be able to behave as a particle as well as a wave, right? Something will be, there will be particle means a solid mass. You know what is a particle, isn't it? Solid mass. The wave is something different, right? So there are the electrons, especially, right? We know something about electrons. Electrons generally have dual nature. They have particle nature also, wave nature also. How do you prove them, right? What are all the aspects you will take? All that you'll be studying in atomic structure, right? And you'll study about how neutrons were discovered, how protons were discovered, right? And what is the mass of protons, mass of electrons. And I know electrons are negatively charged. How much is the charge? I know protons are positively charged. How much is the charge? And how scientists found out all these, right? So this is, I would say, the history chapter. Atomic structure is actually a bit of history involved. It's so much discoveries and how the scientists did it, right? So all these things are there. And yeah, I think I gave the very quick introduction about what you will study, right, in all these chapters. So all these are comes under physical chemistry. In all these chapters we'll be dealing with numbers. You'll so much use mathematics, basically not mathematics in the sense very complex level mathematics, like basically addition, subtraction, division, and to little bit higher level, very little higher level. But again, all these things will be taken care in the mathematics part of 11th, so you don't have to worry about any of it. Okay, fine. So these are all the chapters I have, right? Okay, now next, when I go for, excuse me, give me a moment. So now when I go for inorganic chapters, so basically in inorganic chapters you'll be studying, okay, first we'll speak about organic and then we'll come back to inorganic. Okay, so organic is actually a continuation of your 10th chapter, carbon and its compounds, right? So the entire study of carbon and the compounds formed by carbon, this entire branch of chemistry is what is called as organic chemistry. Okay, fine. So under organic chemistry, so there are only two chapters in organic chemistry. I have something called as general organic chemistry, right? So you already studied. So in this chapter, what will you study? You already studied about what is that? IUPAC naming in your 10th class, isn't it? Right. Say if I give you a compound like this, I give you a compound like this, or I can even give you a compound like this. Okay, like I can give you crazy structures like this. I can still more even more complicated if you want. So we'll be still going still more in depth on naming how these compounds. Anyone wants to try? How do I name this compound? COOH, CH, again COOH, CH, COOH. Anyone wants to try? You can just unmute yourself and try if you want. Nobody wants to try. Okay, fine. So anyways, now I'll not be revealing how are you going to do this now, because that's not what you're doing now. Anyways, we'll be dealing with all of these, right? And we'll be dealing with something called as isomerism. That means you would have had a glimpse of isomerism in your 10th class, maybe, right? So isomerism is where I have single molecular formula, but I can write so many different structures, isn't it? Right. And one more thing you'll study is that is not the only type of isomerism. I can even have, understand that carbon atom is going to have 4 bonds, right? So each, like how are the bonds oriented, right? And how to say, like you'll get a lot of insights, right? And you'll study about how generally an organic reaction occurs. You have to study certain organic reactions, say CH2, double bond CH2 plus H2 giving CH3. Now we'll go inside, like you will go inside the particular framework of where the reaction is occurring and see how exactly this reaction on is happening. Okay, so obviously we require some prerequisite knowledges for us to even if you look at it, there are certain prerequisites which are required, right? Which has to be satisfied before you even start learning it. So all those things you'll be studying in this chapter. All the required insights which is necessary for me to understand how an organic reaction occurs. So this how an organic reaction occurs, that I'll use a technical term for this. That is what is called as a mechanism of a chemical reaction. So when I say mechanism, basically I'm talking about how exactly this reaction is occurring. Okay, fine. This is the first chapter in organic. Second chapter is my hydrocarbons. Right, hydrocarbons. Hope you know, as the name tells you, I'm going to study about carbon and its compounds, but I'm going to restrict my discussion only to compounds having carbon and hydrogen. Right, and I know I have 3 types, right? Alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, and I have still more. I have something called as benzene compounds, benzenoids, right? Benzene formula is C6H6. So this is actually one of this ring here is what is called as a benzene ring. This is what is benzene, C6H6. Okay, so all these things we'll be studying how to prepare these compounds and what are the chemical properties of this, and obviously the mechanism, how exactly for whatever reaction we are going to see, we are going to see the mechanism. Right, so these 2 are the organic chapters, right? Okay, next, and I go for inorganic. Right, so in inorganic I have, first one would be periodic table, and I have chemical bonding, right? And anything else? Yeah, S and S block elements. I would say S and P block elements, right? And I have hydrogen. And lastly, I think I have environmental chemistry. So these are the chapters, right? So I think you'll be able to understand in periodic table what I'm going to study. We already know what is periodic table, what are the history behind periodic table, and now what we are using the modern periodic table. So in this case, we will be restricting and restricting only to modern periodic table because we have studied enough about the previous periodic tables. Now we'll be going a still more depth. I have studied how electronegativity is varying, how atomic size is varying along the periods, along the groups, right? Now, in like I'll be able to give you tricks, right? If I give you the atomic number, right, I will be able to predict which group number, which period number that element belongs to, right? So certain tricks are there. We'll be able to find that out, and obviously there'll be still more atomic trends. Now, what do you mean by atomic trends? Things how it's are. I mean, what are the parameters which are varying along the period and along the group and down the group, right? So there'll be something called as ionization energy, right? And there'll be something called as electron gain enthalpy. These words look very complex, but it is not. It's actually very easy. Okay, fine. So that's what you'll study about periodic table. And chemical bonding, I told you, we'll be studying how a bond is getting formed, how an ionic bond is getting formed, how a covalent bond is getting formed, and there are other types of bonds also: coordinate bond, metallic bond, and I have some other primitive types of bonding called as hydrogen bonding, right? So all these things we'll be studying, and I told you I'll be able to compare the bond strength, how strong the bond is between two compounds. I'll be able to check what is the structure, right? If I have H2SO4, how the structure looks for H2SO4, right? And say if I have something like carbon dioxide, how the structure looks for carbon dioxide, what is the name of the shape of all these compounds, right? All these things we'll be studying. And bond angles, right? Say for example, if I have H2O, right, this is how H2O looks, isn't water? So I will be able to predict how much will be the bond angle, or at least I'll be able to compare this angle theta. I'll be able to find, right? So, or at least I'll not be able to directly predict, but still for most of the compounds I'll be able to predict, and for all the compounds I'll be able to compare whether this will have a higher bond angle or that will have a higher bond angle, right? All these comparisons will be able to make. Okay, fine. In S and P block elements, I would say it's a continuation of periodic table, right? So in this, we know there are, group numbers, isn't it? So in this, I will be studying group 1, 2, 13, 14. I'll be going in depth to in these four groups: group 1, 2, and that side 13, 14 groups I'll be studying about. Okay, and next, hydrogen. Again, as the name tells you, I'm going to study only about hydrogen, right? We know that hydrogen is an anomaly, isn't it? It's a flaw in my modern periodic table. You would have studied why hydrogen is a flaw. It can be either placed in the what is that, first group, or in the 17th group, isn't it? So all those problems are there. So we'll study in depth about hydrogen. And lastly, studying about environmental chemistry. It is not that much of an important chapter. Okay, so what to say? You'll be studying about which are the compounds which are polluting the environment. What are pollutants? What is it? What are the drugs which are responsible for aquatic animals' death? So something like that. Yeah, so many things, like some general stuff about environment we'll be studying here. Okay, fine. So these are all the chapters which are there in 11th class. Okay, so don't be afraid. Okay, if they're looking at this many chapters, please don't get afraid. We are going to make it very easy. We are going to make it very interesting. Okay, fine. Now shall we start today's class? Right, so we'll go for the first chapter. Right, fine. Okay, now actually if I go to 12th, now what you see here is there is more of physical chemistry chapters and less of organic chapters, isn't it? And if you go for 12th, it will be actually ulta. There will be so many numbers of organic chapters and very less number of physical chemistry chapters. Inorganic here, 11th and 12th, the number of chapters almost remains the same. Okay, fine. So for today's chapter, we'll just start is what is called as some basic concepts of chemistry. Okay, fine. Now this chapter is very important. It's not very important with respect to marks. It's not about that. right? So it is very important for me to understand. Okay, without this chapter, it is very tough for us to understand other chapters which are going to come. Not only here, even in 12th, if you go, there will be a lot of difficulties if you will face if you don't understand this chapter very properly. Okay, so as the name tells you, it is going to teach you some basic concepts which are fundamental in chemistry, which are required to deal with all the other chapters in chemistry. And most of the chapters will be using this. At least certain elements will be using. Okay, fine. So in this chapter, what we are going to study? Okay, so in this chapter, now in your chemical reactions and equations chapter, what did you study? You studied what is a chemical reaction, what is a chemical equation, what and all are the other informations I'll be able to give writing a chemical equation, how do we balance a chemical equation, and what is the need for balancing, right? And I studied different types of chemical reactions, right? So all these things you have studied: oxidation, reduction, displacement, double displacement. All these things you have studied, isn't it? Now here, instead of dealing with quality in the sense, if I make this and this react, this product is getting formed. If not this, if I make some other thing react, some other product is getting formed. We are not interested in that anymore, right? At least in this chapter, we are not interested in what and what, right? We are interested in how much, right? If I make this much amount of A reacting with this much amount of some B, what will be the amount of product formed? What will be the amount of C formed? What will be the amount of D formed? Are you able to understand? So we are going to deal with the numbers of how much is what is this chapter, purely numbers. Okay, and I would say decently interesting chapter, right? Okay, so we'll start with the chapter, right? Okay, now we are going to first start this chapter with knowing what is this atomic mass. Okay, we are going to start this chapter by dealing with this one, atomic mass, right? Now please don't confuse with mass number. We know what is mass number, isn't it? Yes, come on, someone tell me quickly what is mass number. Someone is going to tell me what is mass number. No one is going to tell me.
It is the total number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus.
Yes, correct, Anand, correct, right? So that's what it is. So as Anand said, basically mass number means total number of protons, number of protons plus number of neutrons. This is what is mass number, right? So people tend to confuse mass number and atomic mass, right? So it is not the same, right? I would say, say crudely speaking, they are same, but if you go very technically, they are actually not same. Okay, now this is the definition for mass number. Okay, now when I go to atomic mass, now again people tend to confuse like this. Okay, atomic mass means it is mass of one atom. It's not like that. It is not about mass of one atom. Say for example, you would have studied about atomic mass of sodium is 23. Hey, atomic mass of sodium is 23. That 23 grams, right? So can I say one atom of sodium, will it weigh 23 grams? Absolutely not. Atoms I know is very small. You'll not be even able to see them with microscopes. And will they weigh 23 grams? Impossible. So this is not about weight of or mass of one atom. It's not like that, right? I would say this atomic mass is basically relative in nature, right? And it's going to be basically relative in nature, right? So what do you mean by relative in nature? I am going to relate this particular mass of one atom. Yes, I am going to speak about mass of one atom only, but not directly, indirectly, right? I am going to compare it with some other thing, right? And that is what is basically atomic mass. It is going to be a ratio, right? It is going to be a ratio of the mass of one atom with some standard weight, right? Say for example, let me put the scale like this, right? Okay, now actually we'll go into the definition. You'll be able to better understand. So when I say relative in nature, that means I'm going to talk about the ratio in some way. Atomic mass, I'm going to deal with the mass of one atom. Yes, I'm going to deal with mass of one atom, but in some ratios form, not in the direct sense. Are you able to understand? Okay, so we'll see if I, so obviously I told you atomic mass and mass numbers are different. We'll see how. Now if I tell you what exactly is atomic mass, you'll be able to understand what is the difference. Okay.
Say the
So this are, yes, any doubts?
say the definition of atomic mass again.
I didn't tell you any definition. I'm going to tell you. Is that okay? Okay, fine. So this is how it goes. So atomic mass is equal to, that is how I'm going to define it. It is mass of one atom of an element divided by some standard weight or standard mass. Right? I'm going to measure the mass of one atom of an element with respect to some standard mass. I'll tell you what the standard mass is, right? So now you can understand what exactly I meant by relative in nature. It is going to, all the masses of all the elements, all the atomic masses of all the elements are studied with respect to this standard mass. Okay, that is how scientists define what is atomic mass. Okay, mass of one atom, yes, mass of one atom of any element for that matter, divided by the standard mass. Okay, now this standard mass, okay, now from history if I see, right, like during old times, what they used standard mass as, say first they started using this standard mass as mass of one atom of carbon, sorry, one atom of hydrogen, right? Mass of one atom of hydrogen. This is the first standard weight used, right? And don't ask me, sir, if I'm not able to measure the mass of one atom of any element, how will I be able to measure the mass of one atom of hydrogen? We'll answer the question very shortly. Okay, we'll be able to do it through indirectly some method. I'll be able to do it. Okay, so this is the first standard weight which was taken, right? But now we are not using it, right? We are using something else. I'll tell you what is that. Now, why we are not using this? There are some reasons. Okay. Now, first thing is hydrogen is one of the lightest element available in the periodic table. In all of the elements, hydrogen is having the least of all weights. Okay. So even though indirectly I'll be able to find out, I told you that I'll be able to find out this particular term, right? But because it's hydrogen, it is going to become more difficult, right? Because it is the lightest element available for me. Okay. So this is actually a problem, one of the problems. Now another problem is you would have seen that most of the atomic mass values for all the elements will generally be whole numbers. You will see 23 grams for magnesium, 2 grams for hydrogen, oxygen has 8 grams, sorry, 16 grams, right? Magnesium has 24 grams, right? All these you can see that they are whole numbers, right? But why it's coming as whole numbers? Because this is not the standard weight. Right now, when I used these mass of one atom of hydrogen as a standard weight, the numbers which I got were not whole numbers. Right. So we always like things which are whole. I don't want 24.023 and all. I just want 24. That's what is important for me. That's what I like at least, isn't it? So this was a problem, right? When I used hydrogen. Okay. After hydrogen, since they faced all these problems, now they another thing they used, right? They used 1/16 of mass of one atom of oxygen. They used second attempt in overcoming the problems when I used hydrogen, right? They used 1/16 of mass of one atom of oxygen. Okay, 1/16 of mass of one atom of oxygen they used. But again, this is not the thing which I'm using now, right? Now, first problem, that is, I told you that hydrogen atom is one of the lightest elements available for me. So even though indirectly we're going to find the mass of one atom of hydrogen, how to put it? Like because it is lightest element, it is becoming more and more difficult for me to find this value, right? Now that problem was overcome when I used oxygen, right? Because oxygen is still little more heavier element than hydrogen. So that problem was a little bit overcome, right? And I would say to some extent, I was able to deal with the whole numbers problem also, right? The number of whole numbers in case of hydrogen is very less, but if I used the amount in terms of oxygen, yes, the number of whole numbers increased. Okay, but still it was not so great, right? It is not like almost all the elements will have whole numbers all numbers of atomic numbers. Okay, so again, to overcome that problem, what we use now is what I'm going to tell you, right? So I rub these two. This is not important for your exams. Nobody's going to ask you all this, right? So now the standard weight, right? The standard weight, they took it as 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon 12 isotope, right? So the standard mass, now what I use is 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon 12 isotope, right? So you can understand, I'm going to take carbon, and I obviously know that carbon has 2 or 3 isotopes with mass numbers of 12, 13, and 14, I guess, right? So, but in this case, I'm going to take carbon 12 isotope. Carbon is having the mass number of 12. That isotope I'm going to take, right? And 1/12 of that mass is what I'm going to take. Okay, fine. Now this is so exactly. If someone asks you what is atomic mass, tell them that it is mass of one atom of an element divided by 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon 12 isotope. This is the definition of atomic mass, right? So now you understood how is it different from mass number, right? Mass number is basically number of protons plus number of neutrons, but here you can see it's actually dealing with the mass of one atom of an element with respect to this 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon 12 isotope. Okay, fine. Now I told you that I'll be able to indirectly find this value, isn't it? I'm going to find what will be the weight, or I would say what is this value 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon I am going to take. Okay, I'm going to find out. We're going to find this value. Okay, we'll try to find that value. Okay, now for me to do this, that is to calculate 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon 12 isotope, I need to make some assumptions, and at least that's what scientists did. Okay, they assumed certain things. So basically, I will give the example like this. Okay, say I have to measure 4 centimeters. Okay, I have to measure 4 centimeters. So what will you do? You'll take your scale, and say at the starting point you will make the 0 of the scale, right? And you will measure 4 centimeters, and 0 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 4, you will mark 4 centimeters. That is what you do, right? Now same 4 centimeters can I measure by like this? At the starting point I keep 2, not 0, right? Now what will I do? The ending point will come at 6. Are you able to understand? But still it is 4 centimeters only, right? So instead of measuring 4 centimeters from 0 to 4, I'm measuring what is that? The 4 centimeters from 2 to 6, right? So like that, if I ask, I'll be able to do anyway, right? But still, for my what to say? For my convenience, I start with 0, because that is what it is easy, right? Instead of calculating from 2 to 4, it's easy to calculate from 0 to 4. It's easier, right? Like you might argue that, sir, yeah, 2 to 4 is all, 2 to 6 is also what is that, easy. But still, when I speak in the larger sense, when I speak about a broader picture, right, obviously 0 to 4 is more easier, isn't it? So this 0 which I have here is what is called as a reference point, isn't it? From this point I take the measurement. That point is what is called as my reference point. Say I'll give you one more example. Say I want to measure my potential energy, right? I want to measure my potential energy, right? What is my reference point? Can someone tell me? Can someone tell me what is the reference point for measuring potential energy? It's not, I'm not talking about the number, right? You know that potential energy formula is mgh, isn't it? Mass into gravity into height, right? So where do I measure the height from? What is my reference point for me to measure the height? Anyone knows? ground, isn't it? From where I stand, from my foot, from the ground, I take the h, right? Say a ball is thrown in the air like that, and I want to measure this height. What is this reference point? Reference point is basically ground, isn't it? Right? So basically, for like all these measurements, whatever the type of measurements you want to do for any physical quantity or any chemical quantity, there is always going to be some reference points, right? Not only in this chapter, in so many other chapters, for measurement of anything, you will be seeing the reference points. Okay, fine. Now here also I'm going to make a reference point. So I would say that it is not exactly an assumption, right? I am going to make something as my reference, and from that I'll be able to calculate whatever I want. It's like that. Okay, fine. So now this is what is my reference point. I say that 12 grams of 12 grams of carbon, right? 12 grams of carbon 12 isotope is going to have 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 atoms of carbon. This is my reference point. See, I think these things are not that important for you, right? But still, I'm just trying to give you a very good picture of how exactly we are going to measure the atomic mass, right? And the other things are going to follow, which will be very easier, right? So these things are not that important to you. But anyways, you will find this again in the due course. You'll again see this. Okay. So what I'm telling you is 12. So what scientists said, this is a reference point they took. 12 grams of carbon, right, is going to have 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 atoms of carbon. So if I have 12 grams of carbon, this many atoms will be there of carbon atom. This many carbon atoms will be there in 12 grams of carbon. This is the reference point. Okay, fine. Now for me to find, what is that, 1 by 12 of mass of one atom of carbon, first I'll be able to find this mass of one atom of carbon. I'll be able to find first and divide that value by 12, right? Divide that value by 12, I'll be able to get the whole number. That is 1 by 12 of mass of one atom of carbon, right? Okay, so now I said that 12 grams of carbon will have this many atoms of carbon. So what I'm going to do is, if I have one atom of carbon, what will be the weight? I am going to calculate, right? So hope you know this. There is a trick by which, using the cross multiplication, I'll be able to find out whatever is a missing term. So I'll multiply this by this and this by this. Okay, so for 12 grams of carbon, this many atoms. For one atom of carbon, what is the weight? How much is it going to weigh? That's what I'm trying to find out. Mass of one atom of carbon, right? So you will find that x will be 12 divided by 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. This is what is x. This into this, that is x into 6.023 is equal to 12. So x would be equal to 12 divided by 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. Okay, fine. Now what I want is 1 by 12 of this. Isn't this is mass of one atom of carbon, right? What I want is 1 by 12 of this. So if I take x by 12, which will be equal to 1 by 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. This is what is mass of one atom of carbon, right? And if you calculate the value will be approximately 1.3 into 10 to the power minus 23. Okay, 1.3 into 10 to the power minus 23, approximately, obviously. Okay, fine. Right, now I'm going to give you some special names now. One by, every time calling this 1 by 12th of mass of one carbon atom, such a big name, isn't it? So I'm going to give you some short name, right? So this 1 by 12th of mass of one atom of carbon is what is called as one atomic mass unit. So I'm going to write it somewhere, right? So this x by 12 is basically, what is that? Isn't it? This x by 12 is mass of, 1 by 12th of mass of one atom of carbon. This basically I'm going to call it as 1 AMU. 1 AMU, atomic mass unit, or it is also called as 1U. U means unified mass. Okay, so 1 atomic mass unit or 1U. And what is the value? The value is 1.3 into 10 to the power 23. So to sum it up, right? To sum it up, I write the values here. So basically 1 by 12 of one atom of carbon is what is called as 1 AMU or 1 U, and this value is approximately 1.3 into 10 to the power 23. Okay, fine. Now this is what is called as 1 AMU. Okay, so now if I rewrite the formula, right, if I rewrite the formula for atomic mass is equal to mass of one atom of an element divided by what? 1 AMU. Very simple. Okay, so that means if I say that atomic mass of sodium is 23 grams, that means mass of one atom of sodium divided by that value which I gave, that value is only 23. And if I say atomic mass of hydrogen is 1 gram, that means mass of one atom of hydrogen divided by the 1 AMU value is what is 1 gram. Are you able to understand? Okay, fine. So this is what is about my atomic mass. Okay, fine. Now I saw a number there. I saw a number valued 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. Okay, so I would say rather than the AMU value, that value is more important. So knowing this value, yeah, so I would say it is a need, right? But there, in case of the in case of the 6.023 into 23, it is actually very much required for me to do the problems. Okay, fine. So this is what is about my atomic mass, and this is just about the history about atomic mass, right? What do you mean by atomic mass? How and all were the things used, right? What we use now, right? All these we studied about atomic mass. Okay, next. Okay, now I'm going to give you another term where I'm going to introduce you a term which you already know. Okay, I am going to see moles, or I'm going to see mole concept. Mole concept. Okay, fine. Now we already know what is moles, right? And anyways, I'll tell you again, right? Say mole is basically going to talk about how much amount is there. That's it, right? Now when I say amount, your mind should not go only about mass, weight, like that. No, it need not be, right? Say amount can be in terms of mass, yes, one of the ways. Amount can also be termed in terms of volume, isn't it? Amount can also be in terms of how many numbers are there. Say, hey, how many students are attending this class? That's also a number. That's also mass. That means that's also amount of students, right? You will not say that 200 kgs of students are attending the class. Like there has to be some say logical context in which I should speak, isn't it? But mole is actually a very versatile concept, right? So I will be able to bring in, or I'll be able to study about moles, that amount which I'm speaking, in 3 different ways, 3 different types of amounts I'll be able to speak, right? So to give you a very good analogy, like say now if I go to a jewelry shop, for example, right? So like people who are going to buy in lesser quantity, yeah, they will speak in grams. This many grams of gold, that many grams of gold, 1 gram, 2 gram, all that, right? Now if I want to buy in bulk, right, what do they say? உங்க வீட்ல என்ன பேசுவாங்க? They'll say 5 சவரன் நகை வாங்கினேன், 4 சவரன் நகை வாங்கினேன், or 5 பவுன் நகை வாங்கினேன். Something they'll speak, isn't it? Pound, சவரன், all these things they say. What do you mean by that? 1 savaran is basically 8 grams. 1 pound, 1 pound வந்து 8 gram, right? So basically all these things talks about, okay, same way 10 பழம் கொடுங்க இருக்கு, ஒரு டசன் பழம் கொடுங்க, dozen again talks about this amount. So like that, mole is also a way which indicates the amount, number. Okay, say when I go to a flower shop, I say moram, 5 moram பூ கொடுங்க. Are you able to understand? So it's understood. Moram is basically 1 hand length, right? Okay, so mole is also like that. Okay, so basically it is going to talk about how much amount is there. It's basically a representation of amount, but this amount can be versatile. I'll be able to have different types of amount for the definition of mole. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to define what is 1 mole. Right? If I say 1 mole means what? 1 mole, 2 mole, 3 moles, 4 moles. Like if I can understand how do I define 1 mole, definitely 2 moles will be twice that quantity. Whatever I'm going to define, twice that is going to be 2 moles. 2.5 moles into 2.25, 2.5, 3 into 3, like that. Okay, fine. So first, okay, I told you that I'm going to have 3 different types of amounts, right? So first way I'll be able to define mole is in terms of mass or weight, right? Okay, second way by which I'll be able to express mole is in terms of number of particles. Now you saw in the previous case 12 grams of carbon had this many number of atoms of carbon, 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 atoms of carbon. Okay, fine. And lastly, another way by which I'll be able to speak moles is in terms of volume. Okay, so these 3 are the ways by which I'll be able to define what is moles. Okay, fine. Now first we'll start with mass. Okay, now before giving you the definition, right, now there are going to be certain conditions at which I am going to define 1 mole. Okay, now condition in the sense, what are, like there are only 2 conditions. One condition for temperature, one condition for pressure, right? So I am going to measure 1 mole, or I'm going to define 1 mole at a condition called as at STP. Okay, STP is basically standard temperature and standard pressure. Standard temperature and standard pressure. Okay, fine. So we have to know these values. What is standard temperature? At what temperature I will be able to define? So please understand that if this temperature and pressure is not there, the definition of mole which I'm going to give now is incorrect. Right? Only at these conditions which I'm going to give, the definition which I'm going to give are correct. If not, the values will change. Okay, if not, the values will change. Okay, now standard temperature is 0 degrees Celsius or 273 Kelvin. Standard temperature is 273 Kelvin or 0 degrees Celsius, right? And standard pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure, 1 atm. Okay, standard temperature is 0 degrees Celsius or 273 Kelvin, and standard pressure is 1 atm. Okay, only at these conditions, at these 2 conditions, I am going to define what is number of moles. Okay, now in your questions, if they don't specify anything about STP, it is by default understood that it is asked only at standard temperature and pressure conditions. Understood? So you don't have to worry much about it, but still you have to know this. 1 mole or 1 mole of anything in terms of all these things is defined only at these conditions: standard temperature and pressure. Okay, fine. Now we'll go to this definition. Now we are going to see what is the what is the definition of 1 mole in terms of mass, right? 1 mole means what? 1 mole means how much weight is what we are going to see, right? So if you have your pen and paper, I would suggest you to take this down, right? If you have your pen and paper, I would suggest you to take down the definition. Right. 1 mole of any substance, 1 mole of any substance at STP, 1 mole of any substance at STP will weigh, W-E-I-G-H, will weigh exactly its, atomic mass or molecular mass, right? Atomic mass or molecular mass, right? So what I'm trying to tell you, if you have taken the definition, if you can read it again, I think it is self-explanatory, isn't it? Right? So what I'm telling you is 1 mole of any substance is going to weigh, how much is going to be the weight of 1 mole of any substance? It is going to weigh exactly its atomic mass or molecular mass. Okay. Now, if I give you certain examples, you'll be able to understand. Okay. For example, I say I have 1 mole of carbon. What will be the weight? I know atomic weight of carbon is 12 grams, right? Say I have 1 mole of carbon dioxide, right? Now this is not about atomic mass, now this is a molecule, so I have to speak about molecular mass. Whenever I have only one element present, that time atomic mass, and whenever I have compound, at that time you have to speak about molecular mass. Okay, so carbon, nitrogen, and sodium, lithium, potassium, all these things, if you have to speak about atomic masses. They're exactly atomic weights, right? But when I have compound, you have to speak in terms of molecular mass. Okay, fine. So here I'm telling that I have 1 mole of carbon dioxide. Now hope you remember, how do you find the molecular mass? Now how will you find? I have 1 carbon atom, right? So 1 carbon atom will have 12 grams as the weight, right? Plus I have 2 oxygen atoms. Each oxygen atom is going to have 16 grams as their weight. So 2 into 16. Now obviously you'll get 12 plus 32. You'll get 44 grams as the molecular weight of CO2. That means if I say I have 1 mole of CO2 at STP, how much will be the weight? It will weigh 44 grams. That is the molecular weight of CO2. Understood? Okay. Now, what if I ask you, there are 24 grams of carbon. Okay, there are 24 grams of carbon. Now I'm asking you, how many moles? Can you tell me? I'm telling you that I have 24 grams of carbon. I'm asking you, what is the number of moles? Exactly 2. Is it not? I have 12 grams. I told you that 1 mole of carbon is exactly going to weigh 12 grams. It's atomic weight. So if I tell you 24 grams of carbon is there, definitely it is going to be 2 moles. Okay. Say I have, now the next question is, I have 2 moles of carbon dioxide. What is the weight of carbon dioxide? 2. What is the
88
weight?
grams.
88 grams. Very simple. 1 mole of carbon dioxide is having 44 grams. So 2 moles of carbon dioxide will have 88 grams. Very simple, right? Okay. Now you will be able to either do by this logic. I told you cross multiplication. Even if I ask you 1 mole, if I know the 1 mole's weight, I will be able to find for any number of moles, any number of grams, I'll be able to find the weight and number of moles respectively. Ulta pulta, I'll be able to do either by the logic. I told you cross multiplication. You'll be able to do. For example, say I do like this. I have say what I did. I have 66 grams of carbon dioxide. I'm asking you how many moles. Okay. Now what you do is, first you write the normal set, which you already know. What you write? 1 mole of carbon dioxide. I know it is going to weigh 44 grams. Right. Now what they're asking is, if I have 66 grams of carbon dioxide, how many moles? Very simple, right? You will be able to cross multiply and find out. Right. Now this number is difficult to find out. If I tell you 88, yes, you'll be able to find out. But if I say 66, difficult, isn't it? So anyways, now if you find out x is the number of moles of 66 grams of carbon, you will find the value as 1.5 moles. Okay, fine. Now, instead of doing this, every time you will not be able to go for this cross multiplication, right? So I am going to give you a formula, right? I think you already know the formula. isn't it? Anyone can tell me what is the formula for number of moles? Anybody? In your 9th class you would have studied. Marandache. Okay, fine. So number of moles in terms of mass n. So number of moles will always be written by the letter n, small n. Okay. So number of moles is equal to given mass divided by the atomic mass or the molecular mass. Again, atomic mass or molecular mass depending on whether I'm going to use an element, a single element, or a compound. Single element means atomic mass, a compound means molecular mass, right? So now the same question I'll be able to do like this. Now I told you that I have 66 grams of carbon dioxide, right? 66 grams of carbon dioxide. Now I want to find what is the number of moles. So 66 is the given mass. I give you this much. I want you to find what is the number of moles of 66 grams of carbon dioxide. That is what is given to you, right? Divided by what is the atomic mass of carbon? Sorry, now it's carbon dioxide. So I will speak about molecular mass. I know it is 44. So you will find the value to be again 1.5. So either you go by cross multiplication or you go by this formula, right? Both of them are going to fetch you same answers. Okay, number of moles is equal to given mass by molecular mass. Okay, now we have two more definitions, right? So that we'll see in tomorrow's class and we'll do some problems. Okay, so was the class okay? Was okay, and you would have found out one thing difficult, right? The difficult part is my handwriting. Okay, you would have seen that little somewhere I'll not be able to write properly. So fine, if that's the problem, you'll be, please stop me somewhere wherever you don't understand, stop me right there and ask what I'm writing. But 99% I will be writing at least legibly, even though not beautifully. I don't have a beautiful handwriting, but my handwriting will be able to understand what I'm writing. At that level, I'll maintain. Okay, fine. So any doubts today's class? You want to ask me anything?
Sir, can you
Don't ask me.
Calculation of atomic mass?
Sorry?
Can you explain the calculation of atomic mass?
Again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So there is nothing to calculate, Kana. So it's just going to be how the definition is, right? So I'm telling you, atomic mass. You don't have to confuse. You don't have to go for the history, geography, and all. Just remember this. That are all our stories. That are not going to come to an exam. So atomic mass is equal to mass of one atom of an element divided by 1 AMU. That's it. This is how I calculate the mass, atomic mass. Okay. So this mass, what is that? 1 AMU is what? 1 AMU is 1 by 12th of mass of one atom of carbon 12 isotope, right? And I told you how we are going to find that value, right? So with that, I'll be able to find this value with respect to the atomic mass. I'll be able to find out. Is that okay?
Sir.
Okay, fine. Any other doubts? Anybody else? Any other doubts? Okay, so I'll take that as a no, right? Fine. So I think the class was a little interesting. You had learned something new from this class, right? So every day's class, the motto should be you must learn when you go out of the class. Okay, now we cannot say go out of the class. When you go out of the session, right? You must have the satisfaction that you learned something new, right? That should be the motto for every class. Okay, fine. So tomorrow we'll see again at the same time. Right? Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.